Recording live from Glory Hole Studios in Chicago and beyond. This is Cognitive Dissonance. Every episode we blast anyone who gets in our way. We bring critical thinking, skepticism, and irreverence to any topic that makes the news, makes it big, or makes us mad. It's skeptical, it's political, and there is no welcome mat. Today is Thursday, July the 31st. See, so we got some email.
Yeah, we normally don't cover a lot of email that we get, but we did get a message this last week. Someone sent a message and said, hey, just so you know, in your story that you covered with Candace Owens, it sounded like what you're saying was calling someone trans is a terrible insult, because what we said was Candace Owens is a horrible person, and she said horrible things about the first lady of France. We said that she called her trans. And I think there's a lot of things going on here that we didn't do a good job of. The person who sent the email said, I know you guys don't feel like that. I just want to let you know that it came across like that. So just in the future, just sort of figure this out. First, I want to thank that person, because I think you've got to give people grace, and you've got to explain, you've got to sort of presume, especially if we have a long track record, that we're doing something in good faith. We're not doing something in bad faith. We can't know that we did something wrong if nobody tells us that we did something wrong. You just never know. You have to have that sort of conversation. So there's two things I want to very quickly mention. When we sort of talked about the story, I think we approached it in a way that was sort of trying to be soften Candace Owens' language, because we were not interested in sort of hurting our audience, our trans community audience, by saying that she said that they're trans. Candace Owens, to let people know, Candace Owens does not believe that the first lady of France is trans. If she does say trans, first off, Candace Owens always treats that like a pejorative. So trans to Candace Owens in itself is already a pejorative, but she's not saying that. She is quoted as saying that the first lady of France is a man. I think everybody, even anybody in the trans community, would presume that that's not saying that someone's trans. That is calling a woman a man. She is misgendering the person. Clearly, she would be misgendering a trans person, and she'd be misgendering someone who was I don't know how to say this, biologically a woman, born a woman, identifies as a woman. I'm not sure exactly what the language here is, but you know what I mean, right? So it wouldn't matter if she says that's a man. She's misgendering that person. So that's why I was saying she was awful. Understand that we don't think there's anything wrong with being trans, and if the first lady of France was trans, it wouldn't matter. But what Candace Owens is doing is trying to attack her and use it as a pejorative, which is why we called her a bad person, and why we said what she said, what she was saying was awful.
Yeah, I want to add just a couple of quick things. The first is, again, appreciating that email. Something when you were talking, we don't know what we don't know. We need to be, somebody has to kind of help us in order for us to understand that. And I thought to myself, when you can believe in somebody's good faith, then they can grow through inclusion, right? Nobody grows through exclusion. That requires good faith. But if you can believe that somebody is coming to a conversation with good faith, even if they're coming from a different angle, even if they've arrived at a different conclusion, if it's a good faith conversation, I think they can be drawn in with inclusion rather than exclusion. And so I'm glad that the person who wrote to us, I think, with the intent to include rather than exclude, because that's the only way that we're going to grow. And right, I appreciate that I appreciate that they're allowing for that good faith to be assumed there. But I also think it's really important to recognize two things about the Candace Owens piece. Yeah, Candace Owens is intentionally lying. So she doesn't believe what she's saying. She is intentionally lying. She is lying, and she is not speaking to you and me, Cecil, because you and we're not listening to Candace Owens. So what is she doing? She is lying intentionally, speaking to a base of people who will see what she's saying and interpret it in the least positive light. She's creating a intentionally false narrative in order to say hurtful things.
Exactly.
It doesn't even matter what any of those things are, right? If you engage in a behavior where you intentionally lie to a group of people who are primed to believe that the thing that you're saying makes someone less than, then you're a bad person.
Yeah.
All the other details don't actually matter. She's trying to rile up her listeners. Her listeners aren't you, and it's not me, and it's nobody that's ever listened to this show. Nobody that listens to this show is also a good faith Candace Owens listener.
Right.
It's not
exactly.
a thing. No person on the left is listening to Candace Owens except for maybe to like hate listen or audit it or to understand it for a family member. So like, it doesn't matter actually to me what the details are. You're an awful, shitty person if you intentionally lie in order to put somebody down in a group of people who will see that lie as a pejorative.
Yeah.
The details are actually kind of irrelevant in terms of like the moral calculation there for me.
Yeah.
Bonjour, listen. You have beautiful thighs. What? He hit me. Drop your panties, Sarasa. I cannot wait till lunchtime. Right! Oh, my nipples explode with the light.
So, Cecil, lots of Jeffrey Epstein stuff. We should talk about this stuff.
We should talk about Jeffrey Epstein, man.
So
this is so good.
Here's the thing. Let me evolve
Dude, I'm just
on
eating it. Just pour it into my mouth like fucking sweet nectar. Just pour it all over me. I will rub all this Jeffrey Epstein content on my nipples for the rest of the week. I can't tell you how excited I am that this is blowing up in their face, Tom.
Delicious. I love the sowing the reaping of what you have sown.
Yes.
This is so great. Enjoy the fucking reaping, you awful people.
We haven't had many opportunities for comeuppance at all, for a while. When Trump finally got accused and then got charged with those felonies and we jumped on the air, there was like that one moment of reprieve where we were just like so excited that some bit of comeuppance finally came to bite a very powerful man. But even still, that was failed and fizzled out, right? So even that fizzled out. But man, we don't get an opportunity for this very often. So I'm excited when this sort of thing, when you sew this up and you're like, you're watering it, you're caring for it for so long. And then that fucking Venus flytrap turns into fucking Seymour from that movie and it fucking eats you.
Feed me.
Yes. Little Shop of Horrors. Exactly.
Yep. So good. But Cecil, I also want to take a moment and trace my current evolution online in real time. Because I got to tell you, man, the more that comes out, the more sympathetic I am to the possibility of a broader conspiracy.
I think one of the things that happens when something like this happens is if they were to not use this as a big thing, there wouldn't be a ton of people digging into it. But I think the more people dig into it, the more anomalies you are just going to find naturally.
Of course.
No matter what.
Yep.
When you start digging deep, you will find anomalies. And at a certain point, you're up for 3 days staring at a wall full of fucking push pins because you've dug so deep and there's no way out now. Yep. And what they're doing is they're digging with the American people and with not just the American people, with the world community, right? These news organizations and these politicians and these people are digging with them, and we are all sort of staring at a wall full of push pins now, because no matter what, they're going to uncover more and more little photographs and more push pins and more string, just because they're paying more attention to it.
Yeah, 100%. Like, I want to acknowledge that is 100% the truth, right? Like you're exactly right. The more and deeper you look into things, the more information you gather, the more stuff there is to pick at. And when things are complex, it's just easy to find outliers. Like, just it's how data sets work. But like, I will tell you that like I'm laughing at myself as this goes on, and I want to laugh at myself on air right now, because I went from, I doubt there's anything here. And I still am not saying there is something here. I want to be clear. I am not saying there is something. I am a believer in the conspiracy. But what I am saying is I would be every day that goes by that I read another story, I would be less and less surprised if a conspiracy of significance were uncovered, right? In the beginning, I would have been very surprised, to be honest. I would have been like, wow, you know what? Generally speaking, it is just it is not this bigger cabal of creeps. Like, that's just not.
Yeah.
But as this goes on, I'm like, yeah, like my surprise level will be like a 2 out of 100. I'll be like, yeah, like I'm not saying there is, but like right now, if I open the New York Times app,
Sure.
you know, at 4:00 this afternoon, and it's like breaking news, I'd be like, yeah, all right, water's wet.
Yeah, I think what's happening is that, one, they did a shitty job and everybody's checking their work. And we know they're incompetent. So it's awesome to watch this group of incompetents, these sycophants that he picked out, all these sycophants, these terrible people who are so bad at their job. They were awful. The only thing they were good at was getting on their knees, puckering their lips, and kissing his ass. That's all they were good at. And every single one of them is incompetent. So all the real competent analysts out there are checking their work now, and they're seeing how bad they are at it. And what happens is when you already stoke that conspiracy, and then you insert into that group a bunch of chuckle fucks who would probably devolve to poking each other in the eye and like holding their hand up in front of it to block it, right? They're all stooges. When you add those people to the equation, you can't help but get more and more discrepancies, more and more problems, because they don't even know how to do a good job. This article is a fucking feast of problems with incompetence doing jobs, right? That's essentially what it is. It's just a feast of that. And you see it over and over and over again. There's a 10-minute video in here. If you have 10 minutes of your time and you want to laugh hysterically, watch the video that's attached to this article, because they fucking did a fucking full-on recreation of a digital prison cell, and they've got like little people walking in it, and they've got like camera views and all kinds of they went so fucking whole hog on this.
I love this.
It's amazing. It's amazing. And just because at certain points there are these anomalies, like you suggest, Tom, there's definitely some anomalies. There's a part where something goes up the stairs that's orange, and they're saying it was someone carrying stuff, but the other people who viewed the footage, because it's like 7 fucking pixels when you look at it.
It's like
it's like filmed off
a Zapruder film shit.
Yeah,
man.
dude, it's even worse than that. It's like when you were a kid and they had those the first digital cameras came out, and they were like, it was like filming on a fucking thumbnail. It was like, it was the worst. That's what this is. There's 7 orange pixels in the side, but the people who viewed it that were experts for CBS were like, hey, this could be anything. And they're fucking right. It could be anything.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing, is that people are going to insert whatever they want because they've cultivated an entire group of people who are going to insert whatever they want in that.
And so I want to be clear. This CBS article is CBS News investigation of Jeffrey Epstein jail video reveals new discrepancies. And I think it's a very long article, and there's a ton of discrepancies in it. And it'd be a whole show to go through them all. But I do think that, like, here is a thing that is likely to be true. Jails are overcrowded, underfunded. It is very likely that they did a bad job. The video shows guards sleeping and dozing off and stuff. Like, it seems very likely that people did a bad job, then a bad thing happened, and they panicked, and they tried to cover up their own fuck-ups, right? Because they were supposed to do a bunch of stuff they just objectively didn't do.
Yeah.
Like, it's not a conspiracy to say a few true things, right? Jeffrey Epstein was never supposed to be alone in his cell.
Yes.
He was left alone in his cell.
Yes.
Right? That is an incompetence, and they tried to cover it up, and they lied about it because they didn't want to get in trouble, right? It's like,
they were supposed to check on him too.
Yeah, they're supposed to check on him every 30 minutes. He was never supposed to be alone. But like, jails do a bad job of being jails. They do a bad job. We've covered a million stories of the incompetence and the overcrowding and the underfunding and just the abject cruelty that is part and parcel of the American jailing system and incarceration system. Cruelty and indifference to suffering is built in. So it's baked into the attitude and the ethos and the institutions themselves. Like, I remember when I was a kid, I was being babysat by this family, and this family, I think I told you this story before, like, this family had this beautiful globe, and somehow I broke the globe.
You broke it.
But it broke perfectly into 2 pieces. And I took the top piece and I set it ever so gently onto the broken piece, and it looked perfect. And I walked away. And later that day, the dad comes tromping down and his footfalls caused the globe top to slide off because it was just balanced by fucking like 3 particles of friction, you know? And it caused it to slide off and it fell and it shattered onto the floor. And he didn't know what he did, but in his mind, he watched it break.
He sure did it.
I panicked when that happened. And I guess I feel like I can understand very easily a world where you were supposed to watch a guy and make sure he wasn't alone, but instead you were fucking around and talking to your buddy and maybe he fell asleep for a few minutes because your job is boring and you worked too long of a shift last night.
You worked a double?
Right.
16 hours?
Right. And so then something bad happens and you're like, oh, fuck. And then you try to like fucking splice the footage back together like an old-timey newsreel. That seems very likely to me because like every person has a story where you fucked up and you scrambled to hide it.
And you tried to fix it. Yeah.
Everybody has that story at work. Everybody.
Absolutely.
I don't care who you are.
I think too, that the group of people, it's not just the people in the prison that might have had, that probably did something wrong. Certainly did something wrong. They all did something wrong. They should have been checking on him. They should have been doing these things.
Yes.
He should have had somebody else to sell. All those things are incorrect. They're bad and they shouldn't have done them. And then they didn't do a good job of making sure to like, I guess, show other people that he was in this position when he died, et cetera. There's all kinds of things that they found when they started digging. But the other thing that they did was then the FBI and the Justice Department and the Department of Prisons all worked together to create this sort of thing to hand off, but they're all fuck-ups too.
Yeah.
So they didn't do a good job of creating something that had the proper evidence in it. At one point, they're like, yeah, it's a fucking screen grab, and then it clearly is an edit because the aspect ratio changes, and you're like, it's amazing. It's amazing how bad you fucked this up. The metadata has multiple images in it. It's amazing how bad they fucked it up. But they do a great job in this article of listing out all those anomalies. And like Tom, as time goes on, I, just like everybody else, I am in the exact same position where it's, as time goes on, I'm like, I don't know, man, it's starting to look a little crazy. But I also have to recognize in myself that they are pulling anomalies, and there's a group of people that are constantly pulling anomalies. I can't fill that in, even if I'm biased to what I want it to be. Right. I think, what happened, what Jeffrey Epstein was doing was horrible. He was punished for it. But I think, like, I would like it if other people were involved in the sense that powerful people were doing awful stuff and there was some way in which they faced something that was bad because of the bad things they were doing, right? So in a way, I'm biased towards it. I'm not biased towards a giant pedophile ring. Don't get me wrong. Let's not make sure that I don't want that to be true. But if it is true, what I want it to be is to punish the people who are in charge of it or whatever. Or if it was more wide-ranging than a Jeffrey Epstein, I definitely want it to be true that this comes out so that those people can also face punishment, right? That's how I'm biased in this. So I want to explain that so people aren't just like, are you rooting for this to be true? Because that's really not great.
True things are true, and we should find out what they are.
Yeah. We shouldn't be biased because we want it to be true.
Right. But I also think that it is at this point, it is an established true fact that there are a lot of people who are in positions of authority who, through incompetence or intention or a combination of both, did conspire, whether intentionally or not, to hide everybody else's fuck-ups.
Yeah.
And to make it possible for Jeffrey Epstein to continue to victimize and hurt other people.
Yeah. And the people in charge of this have carved out handholds for all the fucking QAnon followers to climb this wall.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the thing is, you don't see you don't find what you don't want to see.
Yeah.
So all of the people who were part of the previous administration, because this happened under the Trump administration, right?
Yeah.
Bill Barr was in charge at the time this happened. And so they very clearly do not want a fuck up on their watch. So if there's a fuck up on your watch, but if you're the guard guarding the guards.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah,
it's like, oh, I got video. Put the video in the evidence locker. Joe said everything's fine. We're going to trust Joe.
Yep,
let's make this go away. We're in charge.
Shit, I don't want shit to roll uphill, so let's just make sure it doesn't. Yeah.
Yeah. So
I want to say too, though, if you have a minute, though, definitely watch the digital reconstructed housing unit that they put together.
I gotta watch
this thing. It's fucking so amazing. Tom, we are 1 week away from the big board and a guy with a yellow pen drawing on a fucking staircase. I'm sure it's already out there, but it's the best, dude. It's like, there's going to be like John Madden breakdown videos of this. It's going to be great.
Oh, I hope they're circling fucking 4 turkey legs at some point on their fucking dinner at the...
she fell asleep because of the tryptophan.
Right. Yeah. All right, this article is related. This is from Esquire. Jeffrey Epstein's sex trafficking operation might have been bigger than we think. So I don't want to go too far into it, but this is a Treasury Department report that describes 4,700 money transfers to Jeffrey Epstein, totaling over $1 billion. And one thing that I have read, and also I was noted in a documentary that I saw, was that people are very unclear where his money really came from.
Yeah, no, a lot of people don't really know. That's absolutely true.
So I don't like there was an impression that Jeffrey Epstein's money came from him being essentially a money manager for the ultra wealthy. But like, this is a guy who didn't finish college, who didn't come from money, who didn't really have connections, and then something, now he's a billionaire. And there isn't really a lot of clarity about the something.
You're not wrong.
So it's worth digging into this too.
Sure.
Like, these are questions we should get answers to. And I think that the answers are unlikely to be non-nefarious in some way.
I think you're probably right. I think, and this is why I included the story, is like, and it might not be related to the current conspiracy that's going around. It might be something completely different, but it's something that definitely should be looked into.
Yes.
That should be something that we should all understand and know. And like I don't disagree in that at all. And I think it's great that somebody's looking into it. There's a Democratic senator or a congressperson from Oregon who's looking into it. So yeah, look into it.
I just love how much damage this is doing to the administration.
I know, dude. It's
so
like,
delicious.
Like, my favorite part about this is when I think about it, I think, was it a smart idea to go on Rogan? Was it a smart idea to go to the conspiracy guy and have your name shown out through everybody? I don't know that it was a great idea now. I'm not sure that it was the best idea now. It's kind of amazing.
Because like, these are the fucking people you're in bed with, right? Like, MAGA, like, that is a group of people that will eat you alive. They don't care about you. This is not a group of people that like respects you. This is not a relationship built on mutual respect. This is a relationship when your entire, like, look, this is a true fact about any relationship at all, right? So to just take this in. If your whole relationship is centered around, we both hate the same things, and that's all your relationship is centered around, that's a toxic relationship. Yeah. That's no good, right? Like, it can include that. It can include that. But if that's it, if the thing you have in common is like the groups that you hate together and the things that you despise and the anger and the vitriol, if that's like what connects you and those are your only points, those are the only tendrils that bind you together, like, eventually everybody eats their own.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Perhaps it would care to increase the stakes.
But, monsieur, this is highly irregular.
I make the rules.
The story's from The Independent. Ghislaine Maxwell talked about 100 different people during Department of Justice's Epstein interview, according to her lawyer.
Tom, what I love about this particular story is that the DOJ and Trump's like personal lawyer go have a conversation with Ghislaine Maxwell. And I want people to understand, like, when we start to uncover things, what things are we going to believe and what won't we believe, right? Mm-hmm. And when we start to muddy the water with more and more information, what things will we uncover? And what if some of that is false information? Can we trust this administration? There's a lot of questions that this brings up. And this, some people are saying that what's happening is they're basically going to Ghislaine Maxwell being like, you name these people, we'll let you out. That's what people are suggesting is going to happen, right? Yeah. That's what the suggestion is. Will you believe it? Will the public believe it? That's important to remember. And it's like, we got to be careful not just to believe stuff that confirms our own biases. Like if they come out, especially the people who are on Trump's side, if he comes out and he's naming all Democrats, That's an important thing that I think we all need to recognize. Is this manufactured? And so we've got to be careful. Why I like this story is because it teaches us to be careful of the information that is being released, because we're not sure even the people who are releasing it are trustworthy sources.
Yeah, I thought the same thing. Like, here's the problem, in my view, with Ghislaine Maxwell as witness. Even if Ghislaine Maxwell is given immunity, it's because like the idea would be like you give Ghislaine Maxwell immunity for the things that you're going to interview her on. She's already in jail for the other stuff. You give her immunity from this. Now she can speak honestly and freely without fear of reprisal, without fear of her going to jail longer. The problem is, as you pointed out, I think the problem is twofold. One, we already know Ghislaine Maxwell's a liar.
You know she's a liar. Yeah.
She's a liar. She stood in front of everybody and said, not guilty, but she's guilty, right? We know she's a liar. Like, we know things about her. We know, like, the evidence is overwhelming that she has been a liar. So she is an untrustworthy source. And there is a strong motivation because this is a federal crime. And Trump's already said, hey, I haven't thought about pardoning her, but I could.
Yep.
And Trump already wished her well. It's not like they have no connection or relationship. So I do think that, like, if I'm Ghislaine Maxwell, what am I going to angle for? Well, here, look, I'll name a bunch of people that are not in your inner circle or connected to you in any way. That will essentially give people something to hold on to, that will absolve you by your exclusion from my conversation. And in exchange, I want to be pardoned.
Yeah.
Or I want a commutation. Yep. And that's all within the president's, and this all goes away and you get to look like the good guy. I don't think that that's an impossibility. I think we should all look at Ghislaine Maxwell and say, whatever she says is probably bullshit.
Yeah.
Right? This is a person who is a child sex trafficker. I don't think we should trust her word on anything.
I'm sorry, who are you calling a bitch? A beach. Oh, a beach. Yes, I'm at the beach. Thank you for noticing. Hey, well, it is summer. And you know what rhymes with summer? That's right, adamandeve.com. If you go to adamandeve.com right now and use code GLORY, that's GLORY at checkout, GLORY, you get 50% off almost any one item. Can you believe it? It's a summer miracle. Magical, in the sunshine, getting some sexy tan lines or something, type of savings when you use code GLORY. And guess what? Free shipping and rushed processing. Can you believe it? I mean, I can't believe it. I think it's unbelievable. I mean, maybe you've heard the ad previously where it has a similar give and ask and tell and all that stuff. But, okay, so that's what it is. All right, adamandeve.com, use code GLORY. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
By this, they will know that you are my disciples. That you say, Merry Christmas! Christ! Christmas! That's my name in there, and I put it in there because I wanted it in there so we could all celebrate Big Boy Jesus' birthday time! Okay? Okay.
Well, we kind of saw this next one coming. This from New York Times. How conservative Christians cracked a 70-year-old law. So we've talked about this before, mostly in respect to the way that it has not been enforced for a long time. This is the Johnson Amendment.
Yeah.
The Johnson Amendment is a law that basically says, hey, if you're a tax-exempt entity, you're not allowed to do politics. You can't endorse. Actually, you can do politics all you want. You can't endorse a candidate from the pulpit. That's pretty much it.
Yeah. You can say abortion is wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. You can talk about tax policy. Even. Yeah. You can actually talk about everything. The only thing that you can't do is expressly endorse a candidate. And actually, let me be more clear. You can 100% do that. You just can't do that and remain tax exempt.
Yeah.
So this is an important distinction that the liars on the right have been lying about. They've been saying this is a First Amendment issue. Oh, we are not allowed in our church to talk about this. The government has no business telling us what we can and can't talk about. The government's never said you can't talk about this. That's super clear and really important. You've always been able, fucking Franklin Graham has always been able at any point to stand up at his pulpit and say, I endorse Donald Trump.
Yep.
And he would not go to jail. Nobody would seize his assets. He wouldn't be civilly or criminally prosecuted. He's free to say it. The only thing that he wasn't allowed to do was remain a tax-exempt entity. Yes. He would just have to pay taxes. That's it. And we have tax-exempt entities because we think that tax-exempt entities serve such a large public good. This is the reason you would have any entity that's tax-exempt, because the value that they provide to society is greater than the value society gets by taxing that organization. That's the thought process behind any tax-exempt entity. And divorcing those players from politics in this explicit way makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. I was going to say, like, when you said they cracked this law, they didn't crack anything. I hate how this is worded. It's just like they stopped fucking trying to pursue it, and then they fired all the people in the IRS that would go after these people. So, like, cracked it in the sense that they defunded the IRS. The IRS, too, by the way, and this is also really important to point out. You know, I love that what you're suggesting, Tom, is that they have this opportunity to say this stuff. Absolutely right. What happens in this country is, you know, the IRS's job is to stop people from taking advantage of a free ride in this country, right? We talk about freeloaders all the time, but we talk about them in the sense like, you know, people will bring up a welfare queen, or they'll bring up like, you know, these people who are, you know, supposedly taking disability, or they're on Medicaid and they shouldn't be, et cetera, et cetera. Those are the people who we normally focus our attention on. But what we really should be focusing attention on are the rich-ass churches who are breaking the law and saying shit that they shouldn't be saying, and the really rich people who are getting away with tax fraud. We don't ever pay attention to those people. And that the IRS is that watchdog that should be doing this work. And what happens is if you defund it, then you crack the code, essentially allowing all these people to do whatever they want.
Yeah, like, if you don't enforce a law, the law isn't real.
Yeah, it's not a real law.
Not a real law. So a law that is it's like, I think about the Johnson Amendment the same way I think about the laws that are like, you can't, you know, ride a donkey down the sidewalk at 3 p.m. in New York. It's like, okay, but if I do, it's not like the cops are going to be like, hey, I know about that donkey law. Well, that's like, no, if you don't enforce it, nobody gives a shit.
Yeah.
And this hasn't been enforced. What I do think is interesting about the way that this was repealed isn't the right word, but the way that this was like slashed is the Trump administration is only slashing it for churches. Yep. So what they've explicitly said is that all other tax-exempt entities, charities, etc., are still technically not allowed to endorse candidates. But churches are.
Yeah.
I mean, if that's not the world's biggest pander, this is almost like a sort of like religious redistricting or gerrymandering, you know?
Yeah. This is a way in which he's paying those people back. It is clear that there is one hand washing the other here.
Absolutely. Yep, absolutely. I mean, these guys have been doing this anyway for fucking decades, and nobody's stopped.
Nobody cared then.
A democratic republic being overthrown by fascist thugs. They think that socialism is a bigger threat than fascism.
All right, this story's from Newsweek. Mamdani beats out all New York City mayoral candidates combined, according to new poll. It's not even close. It is not even close. It is a decimation.
Yeah.
Mamdani in polling has over 50%. Everybody else combined has less than 50%. That's how numbers work when you have more than 50%.
That's how it works, baby. Yeah, I love it. I think, and have you heard this guy talk? Because I'll tell you, every time I hear him talk, I'm more and more convinced this guy is absolutely amazing. I really, really like this guy a lot. And the way he speaks and what he speaks to is exactly what I think the larger left-leaning parties in this country, whether you're part of like, you know, the farther left than the Democrats, or the Democrats themselves, even the centrists, need to listen to this guy, because I think he has a very, very populist message that people should be listening to and emulating, because I think he's speaking to saying all the right things to the right people to motivate them to make them think that he's going to do some really great things for everyone.
Right. Yeah. I think I didn't know much about Mamdani at all. I'd never even heard of him, to be honest, until he won the election.
Yeah.
I listened to a Daily or Slate episode, and they interviewed him, and I was like, holy shit, this dude is kind of awesome.
Yeah.
This guy is great. Yeah. I had no idea. You know, what I want to say I like about him that I imagine resonates with many other people is it's not just this like I want to do this. Here's what I want to do. He's got a plan. There is a plan. There is a here's how we do it. The how element is fucking important. If all somebody says is, here's the goal I'd like to get to, nobody believes you because people don't believe that you have a way to get there. And so it feels like politician talk. And Mamdani feels differently because he does articulate a path to the goal.
Yeah.
And that's so rare, man.
It really is. And I'm excited to see him in there. Like I say to everybody, though, be sure to temper your expectations. The system itself is set up to sort of thwart people like this. So be honest, be ready that even if he does get in, that he might not have the sort of the will behind him to change things in the way that you would hope he would. So just be ready to temper your expectations. It doesn't, just because a person like this gets elected doesn't mean it's a home run. Let's make sure that they get as much done as possible and try to empower that person as much as possible to get those things done. But I think, like, if they don't get everything done, don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good.
They'll believe anything he tells them, including that he can speak to dolphins or he doesn't urinate and defecate.
So you telling me my man doesn't pee or poo?
I'm telling you he does, and he lies to his people and they believe him.
This story is from NBC News. Gabbard and White House lying about intel on Russian interference in 2016, according to ex-CIA official. This also isn't just any old ex-CIA official.
Right.
This isn't like Joe Spy versus Spy.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
This is Susan Miller, and she is a person who helped to oversee the 2017 intelligence assessment of Russia's efforts in the 2016 election. She was basically in charge.
Yeah, the thing that Gabbard is now saying was done wrong is it was actually done by the person who. This is the person who's commenting on it.
So what has happened is the Epstein thing won't go away. It's bad press. It's not going away. It's sticking. And Trump is trying to do anything and everything he can to deflect attention. Deflect. And so now he's come back to this 2016, like a conspiracy and treason in 2016. And, the Obamas created all this, bullshit about me and this Russian interference or whatever. And Gabbard has come out and said just fucking blatantly untrue shit about the 2017 intelligence assessment. And the lady who ran it was like, yeah, that was my work. I did good work. You're lying, lady. You're lying.
Yeah, man. And she's I can't wait. Man, I really hope there are some people who need some comeuppance. Gabbard is one of those people.
Oh my God, I know.
Genuinely needs. She is such a lapdog, which is crazy because she looks like Cruella DeVille.
It's 101 Gabbards. Can you imagine a nightmare worse than 101 fucking spotted Gabbards?
What I want is someone to hold her feet to the fire when this is all over. Do a serious investigation on her because we've seen her rise to prominence in a really suspicious way. So what I want to see is someone really dig into what she's doing, really do a background check on her, really do a check on her finances in a huge way. Investigate the shit out of her after this is all over. She is lying, using her office to try to attack someone else who was in office. This
100%.
is what they accused the Democrats of when they had evidence that Trump was being bad.
Yeah, man. And remember that Gabbard was a Democratic presidential primary contendant.
Yeah.
That's who Gabbard was. And then something, now she's MAGA?
Yeah.
Really? I mean, the lady is very clearly, she's very clearly to me a stooge of the Russian government. I just feel like that is just so evident.
Yeah,
just obviously evident.
If she isn't, then she's the most useful idiot in the history of idiots.
Those are the only two options. And it's and now she's trying to bury, because it is true that in 2016, according to the intelligence assessment that was developed in 2017, looking at the 2016 election, this is important to note. It is very much true facts that Russia engaged in a widespread and complex disinformation campaign aimed at damaging the candidacy of Hillary Clinton and elevating the candidacy of Donald Trump. It is also true facts, according to the intelligence assessment, that Trump did not collude or conspire with the Russians to do this. He was just their useful idiot.
Yes.
That's what he was. They wanted him in charge because he's a fucking tool. That's it.
That's it.
He's a fucking absolute tool that knows nothing about foreign intelligence, that knows nothing about fucking foreign diplomacy. He's the best person. When your enemy is like, that's our guy, that shouldn't be our guy.
Yeah, right.
Right? That 100%. We should never align our interests with our enemies. That's how enemies work.
Yeah, man. Yep. Well, and now I would be surprised if you were to poll a group of people in the United States if most of them would say that Russia is our enemy.
Isn't that nuts?
I would suspect that most of them would suggest that Russia isn't our enemy. I would think that probably most people, I'm not, that's just all spitballing. But from what I've seen of, sort of the average Joe, I think people have come to the conclusion that Russia is not someone on the stage that we should be, they should be an enemy. They're our ally in a lot of ways, I think. I think that's what people think.
I think the right has come to embrace Russia.
Yes.
In a way that, again, maybe because I'm a fucking old piece of shit, but can you imagine telling this to Reagan or telling this to George H. Bush or telling this to anybody that grew up not that fucking long ago with the threat of nuclear annihilation between the United States and the Soviet Union held over our heads and as real as the air that we breathe? Can you imagine saying, well, but, now the United States is now Russia's, they're perfectly fine. I mean, has something fundamentally changed? Well, no, actually, the guy in charge is trying to recreate the Soviet Union. And we know that because he's an ex-Soviet KGB officer, and he's fucking said that out loud as his goals.
Yeah, I think the important part is that, right?
Yes.
I think a lot of people, if they don't know that and they don't care about that, they think, well, we told Russia to take the wall down. They did. They changed. They're not the Soviet Union anymore, and so we should be friends. And I think that there is a thought. If you were to just say Russia, that used to be the Soviet Union, is now our ally to Ronald Reagan's ghost, and you didn't explain anything else, he might be like, yeah, okay, that's kind of what I was hoping.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I was kind of hoping for that. But
because you would assume some change,
you
right?
would have expected that something would have changed, that there would have been some sort of evolution. But what happened is that the corrupt system that they had in place that made it so that there was these sort of, communist people who were in charge now became the oligarchs. So they just went from a communist to a capitalist system, but they still have the same sort of structure, which is small groups of people are in charge because now they just have a lot of money.
Yeah, they're not a Western style democracy. They have not fundamentally changed.
I don't think we are anymore.
Really, they just shrunk down.
Yeah, I don't think we're a Western style democracy anymore either, though.
I don't think we are either, man. I don't think we are either.
However, while there can be no quid pro quo on this issue, the United States can offer a private assurance.
Oh my God. I love just the way this is titled, this story. This is from Yahoo News. Hegseth secretly splurges nuclear cash on Trump's free jet.
Jesus Christ.
We talked about this. Trump is getting a free jet from an Arab state that we have no business trusting whatsoever to give us a free jet. It's a used jet, but it's worth hundreds of millions of dollars. It will, of course, cost many hundreds of millions of dollars more to turn it into Air Force One.
2.5 times its original price.
Right. To turn this thing into Air Force One. And I want to point out and remind people that, Trump then intends to keep it as his personal jet.
Yeah.
This is not a American asset anymore. So we're going to spend hundreds of millions of dollars that were earmarked as military spending. We're going to take that military spending. We're going to turn this fucking foreign jet into our most important literal vehicle for democracy.
Yeah.
And then we're going to give it to the former autocrat when he leaves power.
Yeah.
These are sentences that are true.
And my favorite part is what he ran. He very specifically was running on the fact that I remember them saying multiple times that the Pentagon hasn't had a full audit that has come back since like for 10 or 15 years. Like their audits all the time are off. They're off by a lot of money because there's so much money that runs through there. It's hard to keep that accounting, and then the audits are off. And they were running on saying, we're going to balance the budget. We're going to balance the budget. It's like, dude is fucking cutting into his beer run money to go and fucking pour money into this. And it's $1 billion. Like it's straight up $1 billion. Like that's a lot. Like, look, man, Trump can give his salary back all he wants and pretend that that's exactly what he's doing, but he's fucking bilking us for a lot of goddamn money.
Yeah, man. Yeah. And like, I thought about this too. I don't know that like, if you haven't seen, I've only seen one 747 jet. I've only flown on one 747 jet. If you've not seen one or been in one, it's hard to sort of express how massive these things are. And you, inside of it, only see a tiny portion of that jet, right? There's an enormous underbelly. There's an enormous amount of cabling and wiring and electronics. Think about, I know we talked about this before, but like I was thinking about this when I read this article, Cecil. Think about how small something like an AirTag is.
I know. So right? You could totally just really, man.
And that's like the dummy version of spy stuff, right? So you've got to imagine this about foreign technical capabilities. If you can buy something like an AirTag, and it's as small as it is, and imagine hiding an AirTag in a jumbo jet, and you have all the technicians of that jumbo jet to help you do it. How easy would that be? How hard would it be to find it? To make sure that that jumbo jet is actually secure, you would literally have to take every single thing out of it, lay it all on the fucking driveway or whatever, and look through it with like
reconfigure it, baby.
Tweezers.
Yeah.
Like just like imagine how easy it would be to hide something in, you know, if you see like pictures of the interior of these things, there's furniture, there's lamps, there's trim around the baseboard, there's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of miles of wiring and electronics. And like, think of something like an AirTag and how simple it would be if you had all the time and engineers. And then think about like how easy it would be just to wire things up in a way.
It's so funny.
That reported stuff back. I mean, like the security concerns alone.
It's so funny, Tom, because like you and I are like, yeah, imagine if there was an AirTag in there and like, dude, the size of the shit that they could put in there and do what an AirTag does. Yeah. It's like microscopic practically at this point.
Yeah, man.
So like, you know, we're talking on AirTag terms. The intelligence community is talking on like fingernail, like your smallest little fingernail terms. And then you consider all the electronics in there. You're right. You got to gut the whole fucking thing. You should just buy a new one. Like you should just buy a new one, which you already have on fucking order. You're just the problem is that you're not going to be president when it's here. So that's why.
And even if it were ready, they wouldn't just give it to him for keepsies.
Yeah, that's the other problem.
If he takes this one, it's a for keepsies somehow. Like it used to be that we had an emoluments clause or whatever. I'm sure I'm saying that. Now it's just like the Johnson Amendment.
You mean people could actually stay down there for 100 years?
It would not be difficult, mein Führer. Nuclear reactors could... I'm sorry, Mr. President. Nuclear reactors could provide power almost indefinitely.
All right, speaking of just the fucking most narcissistic shit in the world, NBC News, renaming the Kennedy Center for Donald and Melania Trump would violate the law that created it. Now, I want to be clear from my intro, it's not the Trumps that are trying to do this. It's all the sycophants that surround him that are like, let's put him on Mount Rushmore. Let's name the dollar bill after him. Let's call the world Trump world. Like, ugh.
Yeah,
it's disgusting.
They are so obsequious and grotesque. It is exactly as you describe. It's disgusting. But what this is, Tom, is rage bait. What it is made very specifically, you know, we talked about at the beginning of the show with Candace Owens, right? Like what she does is rage bait people. And what these people do, what we've decided in this country is that we need to elect officials that instead of trying to put forth the sort of best plan of action to reach the most people in their constituency and lift those boats up, they think what they should do is rage bait the other side side, because if they do, it will not only make those people angry, but it will make the people on their side happy. And those people will be like, well, I don't care if I'm not getting anything. As long as the people on the other side are mad, I'm happy about it. And so our politics has turned into this constant feed of rage bait. I also think this rage bait is very specifically made so that you stop talking about Epstein. So we stop asking real questions about real policies and real things that are happening in the world and ways in which we can hold people accountable. What they're doing is creating rage bait. So people across the country are like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Why would you do that? So we get mad about it. And I think this is a brilliant plan on their part. They don't get to data. They have no responsibilities then. All they have to do is take the heat for the rage bait that they created. They don't have to worry about, the budget of here, or whether or not Trump stopped a war that he claimed he could, or whether or not the Epstein case is a real thing or not. They don't care if they can make you angry and make you divert your anger to that. It's something that they created and they literally don't care about.
That's exactly right. And I wonder what you think of this. If you know what it feels like to me is legislation as content creation.
Yeah. No, it's a great point.
That's what it feels like. This feels like legislation created in order to, farm for engagement. That's what this does. Yeah. It's like we've learned a lesson from content creation, and it's a bad lesson. It's a terrible, toxic, awful, horrible, society-destroying lesson. And we're doing it anyway. And now that's creeping into, we saw this with the troll party, and now we're seeing this built into our legislation. And it feels like the worst parts of the internet culture becoming Congress. It's not. It's pretty horrible, man. It's pretty nasty.
I just hope that there's some way to right the ship. I hope in the future what we can do is, and I wonder if, what we talked about in the past, limiting executive power through sort of going hard in the paint as hard as you can the first couple years if you get everything back, and then making it seem like there's some sort of schism that says, no, we want to make sure that we limit executive power. And then you get those people on board that are on the other side because they want to limit your power specifically, and they can't think two people ahead. And so you're able to limit your own power, but in that stroke of the pen, you limit all executive power and put teeth in for when people do shit like this. I feel like there should be rules in place that make it so if you create, it's almost like when you get a fine for bringing a frivolous lawsuit, you should be a fine for a frivolous law. If you make a frivolous law, this is sitting as a lawsuit, you get fined or something happens to you. Instead, what happens is these dumbass things that they're proposing, we should make President's Day Trump Day, and we should put Trump on the flag, and we should do all this stuff. They are literally doing this just because they recognize that the dumbest people in their base are going to heart and up thumb it.
Each and every man under my command owes me 100 Nazi scalps. And I want my scalps. And all y'all will get me 100 Nazi scalps, taken from the heads of 100 dead Nazis. Or you will die trying.
This is a long and interesting article from the Huffington Post. This viral debate clip highlights a scary reality about today's conservatives. Experts weigh in on the shocking exchange between a self-proclaimed fascist and the political commentator and journalist Mehdi Hasan. I may have mispronounced that. Forgive me.
Yeah, he used to be an MSNBC contributor. Someone had said that the reason why he was fired from MSNBC was because he spoke out against Israel. I'm not sure exactly where that comes from, but I mean, it doesn't. I would not put it past a large organization to do that, though.
Oh no, yeah.
I'm curious. Do you want to listen to it, Tom? Because it's only 2 minutes, and I can play it.
Sure, yeah, let's play.
Yeah. How would Connor's America look? What would it look like? Well, quite frankly, I think we would deport people who shouldn't be here. No, I didn't ask about deporting. What does the government look like?
What does the government look like?
Yeah,
I would say, quite frankly, it's under a sort of benevolent leader, such as
where does he come from?
It could be a kind of aristocratic class. Could be someone
who picks the autocrat?
Frankly, the people. I mean, we could hold a vote on it. Kings were
isn't that democracy?
Well, sure. You can have a vote to get to that stage.
And then no more votes afterwards?
Absolutely.
Wow.
100%.
Wow. And if that autocrat kills you and your family, you're fine with that? Well, I'm not going to be a part of the group that he kills because that's the whole thing.
How do you know?
Carl Schmitt
Autocrats tend to kill everyone,
Carl
even their own
Schmitt makes
supporters.
this point very well in his work. It's the friend-enemy distinction, right?
Carl
liberals,
Schmitt, the Nazi theoretician.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't care.
Are you a fan of the Nazis?
I don't. I frankly don't care being called a Nazi at
I didn't
all.
say that. I
Doesn't
didn't
matter
actually
to
say
me.
that. I said, are you a fan of the Nazis?
Well, they persecuted the church a little bit. I'm not a fan of that. But
What about the
you know,
persecution of the Jews?
Well, I mean, I certainly don't support anyone's human dignity being assaulted. I'm a Catholic.
But
And
you
so
don't condemn Nazi persecution of the Jews?
I think that there was a little bit of persecution
We
and stuff
may
like
have
that,
to
which is
rename
bad.
this show
but-
because you're a little bit more than a far-right Republican.
Hey, what can I say?
I think you could say, I'm a fascist.
Yeah, I am. Absolutely.
I'm just checking who's clapping just to get my set of where everyone
Because
is on this.
Because
you know that millions of people are going to be watching you on YouTube and checking out who the fascists and the Nazis are.
I'm not ashamed of that whatsoever.
No, clearly you're not.
During the
Clearly
the pre-war period prior to World War II, it was only those parties that properly enacted the people's will. That's why they won. The conservatives were fat cats. They were aristocrats.
Are
They
you in
didn't care.
favor of killing people who aren't like you?
Quite frankly, I'm not.
You mentioned Franco earlier. Franco killed a lot of innocent people.
Oh, well, he killed communists. He killed people who raped nuns and killed priests.
What about children who he killed and women who he killed?
What are you talking about? He never killed any women or children. He was Catholic,
He only
dude.
killed combatants. Is that what you're claiming?
Yeah, he
now?
only killed combatants.
Never killed any innocent people.
The White Terror was only punishing those people who did acts of terrorism. And again, are you supporting like raping innocent women? Nuns, dude. Killing priests? I mean, priests don't brandish guns and kill
You
people.
just refuse to condemn the Nazi Holocaust, my friend. I don't think you're in a position to ask anyone any questions.
I quite frankly don't care what you think about me. If I'm a Nazi and
the
being a
feeling
Nazi
is mutual.
and
so
being a Nazi means upholding human
cut it
dignity, because I even believe in your dignity. I don't in a
I
state that I was
with the
running.
greatest of
I wouldn't
respect,
want to hurt
I don't
you or
debate.
anything like that. But
what are we
quite
doing
frankly,
here? I don't debate fascists.
Listen to this guy. This guy is just like, yeah, no, I'm a fascist. They're cool. It's fine. I don't mind me being called a fascist. I am a fascist. Like, that's fucking crazy to me that we're at this point now where people are just like unabashedly like, yeah, man, no, I'm like, that's exactly how I want to live my life. I want to live in a way that like we have realized is probably the worst way that you could construct a government. And these people are like, no, I mean, that's how I want it. I want that. I'm going to go out of my way to get that.
A few things that he said are shocking in that way, right? Like, first of all, like he throws out Francisco Franco, as like, oh yeah, Francisco Franco, like, holy shit, are you kidding? Like, that dude killed like 100,000 innocent people. Like, that is a monster. That is a historical monster. Then when he talks about like, well, you know, how can you be sure you're not going to be killed? Well, I won't be killed.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to be fine. Look, man. Like, I wouldn't vote for a guy that's going to kill not me.
I know, it's
right.
And
What
he
the fuck
said-
is wrong with you?
He even says, he's like, I'm an empathetic person. I'm a Catholic. I respect your human dignity. Dude, you just said you would vote for someone who kills other people.
Thank you. And then he's like, well, what about, you know, the Nazi persecution of the Jews? He's like, yeah, it's a little bit of persecution.
It's like a little bit.
6 million people. Like,
It's like a touch of persecution.
just a hair. What would be a lot to you, man?
God, these people are the worst, Tom. They're the worst.
I know, man, but I think the thing that this article does that I think is like really interesting is it really like points out that like, one, maybe these kinds of debates are bad, right? Maybe the spectacle sort of Colosseum-esque debate structure feeds into our need and desire, not for substantive conversation, but for point scoring.
Yeah.
And it doesn't really matter if the point scoring is, you know, a fucking basketball game or, you know, a debate. If it's about scoring points and it's about generating rage and it's about generating engagement, like we said before, then it doesn't actually articulate and elucidate anything meaningful. And maybe that's a thing that we should all be concerned about.
Yeah.
But I think more broadly, one of the things that this article really does a nice job of pointing out is like, hey, we've stopped agreeing on the fundamental desire to be a democracy and seeing that as the inherent thing that binds our nation together. And there's nothing more dangerous than that. We can disagree about every substantive issue, but it used to be like 10 minutes ago that we all at least thought, well, at least here I know I'm free. right? There's that like, and I'll gladly stand up, like all that shit. That's all based on a kind of Americana that centers itself around democracy as at the very least our one shared common core value. Democracy is the best form of government. I am empowered through it. I am free because of it. These are things that matter. And like, we have walked away from that. We are actively walking away from that. That's the biggest schism that you can possibly have in a country, right? It's not the left-right schism. If we give up and say, hey, we maybe should have an entirely different form of government, we don't have the same country anymore.
Yeah.
We literally don't have the same country.
I wonder if tolerance is what causes this, right? I wonder if being tolerant of all views and being like, oh, everybody's got an opinion and everybody's allowed to have their opinion, et cetera, instead of saying, we know Nazis are bad. We crushed Nazis because we knew that way of thinking was a bad way of thinking. That killed a lot of people. It hurt a lot of people. It didn't just kill and hurt a lot of people that weren't Nazis. It killed and hurt a lot of Nazis, right? So like nobody won. It wasn't like there was like a yay, we won. It was like everybody lost. It was just how much did you lose in that war? If you lost less, you kind of won, right? That's how bad that war was. And it seems like we forgot and that we have this situation where people are like, well, is that okay? Is that all right? And like I said last time, like we really need to have some moments in our young time, in our young upbringing, where we touch the stove with our full hand. That needs to happen sometimes. And I feel like right now we're experiencing a moment that is going to lead to a lot of people touching the stove with their whole hand.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I worry. I was really worried about the left-right schism. I really was. And I feel like my worries have begun to really coalesce around this like broader concern that America won't be America anymore.
Yeah.
That it won't be like we're going to pick a right-leaning government. It's going to be a right-leaning government for a really long time. And I'll disagree with virtually every single thing that happens. And, we'll disadvantage and disenfranchise every minority group and destroy our own economy. I was worried about that. Now I'm worried that all of that plus we will cease to be a functioning democracy and we won't have any. Right now, as a functioning democracy, we have governing documents and we have a governing ethos that we all share. And it is part of what binds us together as a nation over something other than just this is our shared real estate holding.
Yeah. All right, that's going to wrap it up for this week. We'll be back next week with another episode. And we're going to leave you like we always do with the Skeptic's Creed.
Credulity is not a virtue. It's fortune cookie cutter, mommy.